Welcome to Brevard News, your home for real news in Brevard County. My name is Kevin Jeffrey, your moderator. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our podcast. Welcome to another edition. Our co-host, of course, is Katie Delaney, the Republican nominee for County Commission Seat District 1, as well as contributor Christopher Childs, who is running for Titusville City Council Seat 2, and our quote of the week. Boy, these are always good quotes, and I don't know if you've listened to George Carlin, but you ought to listen to this guy. He's really funny, and he says some really interesting things, particularly about government. Now, notice what he says. Governments don't want a population capable of critical thinking. They want obedient workers, people just smart enough to run the machines and just dumb enough to passively accept their situation. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They've got the judges in their back pockets, and they own all the big media companies, so they can control just about all the news and the information you get to hear. And that's from George Carlin. He just didn't know about Brevard News. They don't control us. So thank you for that, George Carlin. Interesting. We want to look at the topics that we're going to be talking about this week. And so we have mayoral candidate charged with misdemeanor on a charge by her opponent. Also, Brevard News' election voter guide. We want to talk about one of the amendments. Also, Titusville Police Chief Lau and the City of Titusville, they're still silent. It's interesting. They charged one candidate this week, but they didn't say anything about themselves. And I find that very interesting. Also, the Firefighter Resignations continue. We're up to 90 and counting. And your voice in the Lori Wilson Park issue wins the day, and we'll talk about that. And let's start with the fireworks of the week. The mayoral candidate, Vicky Conklin, charged with a misdemeanor. This was crazy.
It was.
Tell me where I'm not wrong, please, Katie.
You know, this, in politics, even though it's not right, there are people out there who, you know, different shenanigans go on in the races and whatnot. Signs go missing or get moved and that kind of thing. And so nobody ever presses charges on something like that. I personally saw one of the candidates' team moving Christopher Child's sign the Sunday before the election, and nobody calls the police about that. You just move it back.
Much less file charges.
Right, exactly. And so this whole situation, especially with this bunch of charges, the signs did not have a disclosure on them that were removed. And so was it actually a crime? Could the one candidate have been in trouble if she didn't remove the signs because it was her face on those signs? Somebody could have said, "Oh, that's yours," and it doesn't have disclosure on it.
So if you looked at it, Chris, it looked like that it was her sign, right? The way that it was
I think because there's a replacement for both the signs is what I'm understanding. And the disclaimer on those signs is not clear. And the law says the disclaimer needs to be prominent. That's the actual word it used.
And it wasn't. It was actually
not prominent on either one of them.
Correct.
The current ones. I don't know. I never saw the original ones, but it wasn't clear on the new ones. So I can't imagine it was clear on the other ones either. But so at that point, is it abandoned property? Is it not? Like she said, I've had my signs blocked even by someone I'm not even running against, and I didn't call anyone. I didn't even call them. But yeah, it's that stuff happens. It's unfortunate that it's happening here in Titusville and that it's devolved to that. It's a shame. But.
So the sign, according to Conklin, contained untrue information and a photo about her. Her name was misspelled, so It wasn't her. I think she said she knows how to spell her name. And then there was a faint Andrew Connor's name at the top. You could barely see it. And so it didn't appear from what she was saying, she knew who the sign belonged to.
Yeah. And they were using the logo of a party club that is copyright protected. And so I doubt that they gave permission for that to be used. As far as what I know, they didn't get permission for their logo to be used.
And so they were using the logo of another party in doing this.
Yes, yeah, that
And
too.
so there's a lot here,
Yeah,
but
there's a law. The part of the Florida statute is for nonpartisan races is that you cannot campaign as a partisan candidate, and so there was a partisan message on the sign. So the sign in itself, there were so many problems with the sign.
It's illegal.
It's ridiculous. So, yeah.
So the speed of charging Conklin is the thing that jumps out to me.
Right.
So this is a misdemeanor at the very worst if you say that she actually did this. Why did the state's attorney speed this through? And there's a memo that we are in possession of from the police department that they were talking about this as early as 9 o'clock that morning, that this was going to occur, and actually alerting the press about it. One of the administrators out of the police department, the Titusville Police Department. So this just doesn't smell right.
Right.
What's going on here, Katie? Am I wrong?
It's just very frustrating because when in the history of our country has the chief of police done a press release, a press conference
On a misdemeanor.
on a misdemeanor crime that's really, I mean, with all the things that are going on in town, all the drug use, all the gang violence, there's so many things that are going on, and this is what we're going to waste our time on.
But what was ironic about it, Chief Lau, is that while you were at that press conference, you still didn't answer the question about your misdemeanor. It looks like that you broke campaign finance laws. And you said nothing about that. We're still waiting to hear about that. And you never said anything about why your officers were sent to a resident's house who put an unfavorable picture online about Andrew Connor. We're still waiting to hear about that. And I just was disappointed you didn't say anything about it in the press conference.
Well,
You certainly could have done that, right?
He did say something about that specific in the press conference. He said that it wasn't Titusville officers that went to the house. It was Brevard sheriff's deputies that went to the house.
Has that been confirmed to be true?
I don't. That's just what he said at the press conference, though. I don't know if it's true or not, but it still doesn't change the fact that officers are. I think that he was trying to address all right, we're sending our officers outside their jurisdiction. It didn't address that what they were sending them there for.
The thing is that the TPD still alerted the sheriff's department. If it was the sheriff's department, they still alerted the sheriff's department to go to somebody's house over a picture being posted on Facebook.
And the thing that's really interesting is that this is the second time that that the Titusville police have intervened in favor of Andrew Connor. And so now we have them going to a guy's house who put a picture on, and now because of this purported misdemeanor, election interference.
I mean,
It looks to be so.
yeah, and I think during the press conference he had mentioned that he didn't like that the police were being dragged into it.
Well, why did they get dragged into it?
It doesn't seem like they're being dragged into it. It seems like he's like putting on a show for the press and sending out press releases. It seems like he's inserting himself into it, especially with the video he did that was taken down a few weeks ago. It doesn't look like anyone's dragging him into it. Maybe people are saying things and he's wanting to respond, but he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to respond.
So then the thing that really was interesting was the state's attorney's office. Now you have John Tobiah. He committed a crime.
Right.
That is a crime, and everyone understands that. Nothing.
Right.
Lober committed a crime. Nothing. These were not misdemeanors. Yet, for a misdemeanor in record time, lickety-split time,
Less than a week.
less than a week,
Yeah.
they're charging a candidate with a misdemeanor. It looks bad, Mr. Archer. It looks bad. Am I wrong?
No, not wrong. But we've heard other people like inside the police department say that they've never seen a petty theft investigation, the charges this fast ever.
Right.
Like they've never seen it happen before.
It almost looks like it was coordinated.
And it may not, because here's the thing with these kind of situations, it may not even be because it may not really even have anything to do with the crime itself or the purported misdemeanor. Just the perception that that would have affected the election, they would have gotten a lot of benefit out of that, right?
Oh, for sure.
So you're trying to paint your candidate or your opponent in an unfavorable light.
Right. I think that people are really frustrated with this race because it's been so nasty. I think that people have been inserting themselves into this race that shouldn't be. And, I have to give a shout out to my opponents because in the beginning of our race, we said to each other, we're not going to go nasty. We're not going to go negative. We're going to stick to the issues. And I think that that is what the people want. And we're seeing that in this mayoral race, that the people are getting frustrated with this
They're really
attack
tired of
on
it.
one candidate. And this is going to backfire.
Well, it looked like it did yesterday. Now, yesterday there was a rally for Vicky at the Titusville Library, and quite a few people showed up across party lines because this is about, and we continue to say it's not about who's right, it's what's right.
Exactly.
We've got to get away from aligning with the party over what's right. And so a lot of people got together and came out to support Vicky because this is not right, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is not, it's like Joe Biden used to say, this is not who we are about. This certainly is not who we are about as Americans, and this has just gotten completely out of control here. Hopefully Tuesday, the voters in Brevard County will chime in on that, particularly in Titusville, and really show that you do not like this at all. Yeah,
Let me
go
say
ahead.
one thing too, just so we're not just focusing on the negative. They did save a puppy, I guess. That was part of the press release that said, "Here's a great story." That some people were like on social media. They were like, "Why'd they say this is a great story about sign theft?" It was actually a puppy. I guess the police they saved a puppy. So they do good things. So
So,
I just want to make
Tony,
sure.
this is to say we're not against the police.
Yeah,
I mean, I
yeah,
think that
I know.
everyone
Yeah.
really will
Yeah.
say that we need law and order.
Yeah.
But we don't need corruption,
Right.
and we don't need the police to be the arm of the government to do their bidding.
Yeah.
And I do want to say one more thing about this, because just because people point out corruption doesn't mean they're against a whole system or every single person in a police department. Of course we support
Right.
our police officers. Of course we do.
There's
They,
been a point here that's been made is we pointed out the person that was involved in it, which is Chief Loud.
Yes.
We have not talked about the officers themselves. And
Absolutely.
as far as we know, they're law-abiding employees of the Titusville Police
at the end
Department.
of the day, they're following orders.
Correct.
At the end of the day, they're following orders.
Goes further up the line, and we'll be dealing with that later on, hopefully as the year progresses. And so early voting. So it's really been. You've been out there, Katie, every day. Your suntan is getting you closer to my complexion. You've been out there every day. So what have you seen?
It's just been incredible. The amount of people that have shown up to vote is just a sight to see. The lines. I mean, even though they're moving quickly through, just the sheer volume of people that are showing up to let their voices.
Enthusiastic too,
Oh,
right? I mean, they are really engaged. This is a
Absolutely.
different kind of election, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And
So-
people, going by honking and waving and thumbs up and all that. It's just such a great place to be.
Did you see, Chris?
Some of the people were standing out in the rain.
Yep.
So the library was getting busy a lot on Saturday, and it was raining on and off out like the whole day. And there were people out, some with umbrellas and some without,
Yeah.
just to get in line to vote, probably because they were going to be busy on Tuesday. So they wanted to make sure that they get the last day of early voting on Saturday. So it was impressive.
It's unlike any election that we've seen in recent times, and so it's going to be interesting to see the results right on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And hopefully you two will be crowned the winners, and we'll see that on Tuesday. So one of the things that we want to cover is this ad valorem tax that was on the ballot, and it's economic development ad valorem tax exemption for new businesses and expansion of existing businesses. So tell us, Katie, what do you think about this, and should people vote for it? Yes, on that.
Sure. So a lot of people have had questions about this one, and some people are worried that we're just giving away money for nothing. And the reason why I'm okay with this is because the businesses actually have to perform. They have to say, okay, we're gonna provide 1,500 jobs and different criteria that they have to follow through with these requirements before they get any money. So for me, if we're trying to pull in, business into Brevard County, I think that this is a good tool to have in our toolbox. And hopefully we can use it to help small businesses as well, not just the giant corporations. So,
And that's the thing, is that small businesses, there's not a lot of incentive given to the small businesses, and they struggle quite a bit, right, Chris?
I think if that's what we use it for mostly, then maybe. As so I'm like I tell people to vote no on it, but because I just don't trust the government spends their money well or directs it to the right businesses well. So I'm more of let's just let the economy work like it is. There's a book out that's called Economics in One Easy Lesson by Henry Hazlitt, and it goes over the free market and it kind of covers this kind of stuff. And if we don't meddle in the free market, I think it works out. So, but I am for like trying to help small businesses. So I think if it was really just about small business, I'd be all for it. So.
So your concern is crony capitalism, right?
Yes,
Where
something like
where
that. Yes.
you're-
Yeah,
you're-
I know, and I know
you're
they have.
picking-
I know they have like criteria on it that you have to meet and stuff. But I think we need to, curtail that. We need to revise that to make sure that it is just small businesses. I don't have any. I don't have any information that it's not. That it's not just working for a small business. But until I see just like on the amendment says, "will only help small business," then I don't. I don't want to
So
vote for it myself.
your details
Yeah.
spelled out. So is that a legitimate concern there, Katie?
I was very split on this amendment when I really up until about a month or so ago. And the more I looked into it and the more I talked to people at the EDC and really learned what they use this for, I felt a little more comfortable. But probably some of my comfort is I know my ethics. I know my my morals. And so hopefully I'll be one of the people making these decisions. So it made me feel a little more comfortable knowing that, I'm going to have a seat at the table. So,
Okay, so firefighters. So the number is now we were at 80 last week. We're up to 90 and counting, and so we're just losing it. We're hemorrhaging firefighters by the day. What do you think is the short-term solution, Katie, and how can we stop this?
the way we stop this is we need to pay our firefighters. It's that simple. We need to pay them and we need to give them a work-life balance. These people live at a constant state of readiness. And any veterans out there, anybody who works in public safety, you understand what I mean when I say living at a constant state of readiness. It is high stress. It is, you are never calm because you're always waiting for that next call. So I'm sorry to say it like this, but this bull that our firefighters can go out and get a second or third job is absolutely outrageous that we have that kind of
They
mindset.
can't do they call them.
Right.
So how can they get a second or third job? They can't really depend on. No one's going to want a
Well,
firefighter when they know that.
Tobias says that all the time. That's his excuse that it's that they could go work somewhere else, get a second
John
or third
Tobias
job.
still waiting to hear from
Yeah.
you. But anyway, I digress. But
So we need to make sure that we're taking care of our firefighters. Most of these people will end up getting cancer at some point or another because of the exposure that they
right?
have. Absolutely. It's presumptive that they will most likely get cancer. We have people suffering in our ranks right now who are fighting cancer, and they have to work 2 and 3 jobs while they're fighting cancer. This is, at this point, I'm just, obviously you can tell, it's a hot button for me.
and so this leads us into the fact that we are going to have a podcast with the firefighters, and it's going to be posted this week, and you're going to hear their story, and it's a very interesting story that they have to tell. And that brings us to my 2 cents. It seems this week as if I were watching an episode of the old TV show, The Dukes of Hazzard. You remember that with the car General Lee? You know, that fictional show that featured two corrupt local officials, Boss Hogg and Roscoe P. Coltrane? Boy, my kids loved that show. Their exploits were to fend off Bo and Luke Duke from undermining their corrupt enterprise. The government of Titusville looked this way this week when mayoral candidate Vicky Conklin was charged with a misdemeanor in such swift justice and media fanfare that it would make your head spin. Conklin, to be sure, admitted that she took down the signs, and the truth of the matter will be decided in a court of law. But what stood out again was the interjection of the Titusville Police Department into a political matter at the behest of Conklin's opponent, Andrew Connors. Also, the speed in which the state attorney's office whipped on charging two county commissioners with serious crimes that were proven to have occurred. They pounced on this one, though, charging a candidate with a misdemeanor pushed by her opponent. Here was Chief Lau, who is yet to answer for his possible breaking of campaign finance law with a video that he put out concerning Conklin, or his officers being sent to a house of a detractor of Connors, holding a press conference to announce the misdemeanor charges against a mayoral candidate. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Somewhere, Boss Hogg and Roscoe P. Coltrane are giving a thumbs up to the cabal of Brevard County. And that's my 2 cents. Thank you for joining us this week on the Brevard News. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our podcast, and we'll see you again next week. Have a wonderful week.